Okay, today we're going to pick up with the last three animal adaptations, and we're going to look at migration, predatory avoidance, and obtaining food. How animals go about doing these things, how their structures, their bodies allow them to do what they need to do to survive. So the first one is going to be migration, but you're going to love number 4, predatory avoidance. There's a really neat animal right there. So let me skip over to migration.
Looking for a compelling look into Idaho's history? Then sit back and watch Idaho Experience from the comfort of your own home. Grab your popcorn and let the binge begin.
When we think of migration, we usually think of an animal like a goose. But did you know that migration is not just for the birds? Many animals migrate, and not just in the springtime.
What is migration?
Well, the definition of migration is movement from one area to another and back again along the same route. So it's sort of like recess. Say you leave your classroom every morning at 10:15 and migrate out the door to the playground. Then when the bell rings again, you return along the same route back to your classroom. Migrating back and forth for recess gives you time to play, but for animals, it's not all fun and games. Animals migrate to survive.
What do you mean, to survive?
Well, think about habitat. What 4 things do animals need to survive?
Food, water, shelter, and space, right?
That's right. If one of these things is missing from the habitat, animals have to go someplace to look for it. The most likely missing piece is food.
So where does the food go?
Well, think about those pesky summertime bugs. Are they around in the winter?
Not this one.
The insects that many birds eat in the summer are not available in the winter. These birds migrate to find the food they need. And when our winter is over, these same birds return again to eat the insects that are bugging you.
Ow, I thought you said other animals migrated too.
They do.
Let's get out of here.
Have you ever seen deer in town in the wintertime? Why do you think they left the mountains?
Food? But the plants don't disappear.
Plants don't disappear, but they can be pretty difficult to find. How would you like to dig through this much snow just for a snack? Deer, elk, bighorn sheep, pronghorn, and other animals migrate to lower elevations where it's easier to find food. But some migrate up to higher elevations to find food.
What do? Eat snow?
No. Take the woodland caribou. Caribou have large feet that act like snowshoes. As the snow gets deeper, the caribou can reach higher and higher to eat the lichen hanging in the trees.
Is food the only reason why animals migrate?
Not always. Another big reason animals migrate is to make more animals. You know, have babies. Finding good places to make nests or to lay eggs gets animals on the move.
Are we talking about birds again?
Birds aren't the only animals that lay eggs. Take reptiles and amphibians. The spotted frog hops 1/4 mile to find the perfect spring to lay its eggs.
That's not far. We have to run a whole mile in PE.
But you're a lot bigger than a frog. Do you think you could hop a mile?
Does he? Get him, get him, get
Well, maybe that's harder than we thought.
Well, if you thought that was tough, do you think you could swim 900 miles? This salmon swam 900 miles from here all the way to the ocean, and then back another 900 miles, just to lay eggs in a stream where it was born. Talk about a journey! Even more remarkable are the migrations of monarch butterflies and dragonflies. Monarch butterflies travel up to 3,000 miles, and scientists aren't sure how far dragonflies go. Both head south in the fall to escape the snow and cold.
How does an animal know where it's going?
It's not like it can read signs.
Good question. We know that salmon smell their way home, but we're not sure about some of the other animals. This is one of the mysteries scientists have been studying for a long time. Is there something in animals' bodies that give them a feel for where they are? Do they use the stars or the sun to navigate? Do they memorize landmarks along the way, like you memorize your route to school? Or do they use all of these methods to find their way? Maybe you could be the scientist who solves the mystery of migration.
If you want to learn more about animal migration, check out the Science Trek website. You'll find it.
Okay, let's check out the next video, which has our interesting animal in it. So I'm going to go back over here. It's loading. Be patient. While we're waiting, let's review what predator avoidance is. It's the ability that certain animals and plants have to ward off predators. So the way this animal wards off predators is pretty cool. You might be grossed out.
She wanted a roommate who could help with the cooking, but she wanted someone who loves cats. So we got Chris Waldo. But one thing we could both agree on was getting Geico to help with our renter's insurance.
Dinner's almost ready.
Thank you
Smells
so
good.
much.
The horned lizard. Its known aliases include the horned frog and the horny toad, but it's no amphibian. Just a one-reptile wrecking crew with a bizarre self-defense strategy. We'll get to that in a second. It eats mostly harvester ants, but it doesn't have any fancy hunting methods. When a foraging column of ants crosses its path, it laps them up. The ants try to fight back, but their mandibles are of little use against the lizard's scales, no matter how hard they try. But a coyote is a different story. And that's when the lizard rolls out its weird defense. It fires its own version of pepper spray. Thin blood vessels around the eyes rupture under pressure and squirt blood out at the attacker. In addition to the ick factor, the blood contains canine repellent chemicals. Disgusted and weirded out, the coyote flees, leaving the lizard to wait for more ants.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool way to avoid a predator. Squirt some blood out of your eyes. All right, that's another one. Okay. And our last video will be obtaining food. How animals obtain food.
The way this works is I loop this onto the pool sensor. We're going to loop that onto one of his horns.
Stop. Okay. Here we go. This is a really cool beetle. So watch how he gets what he needs, how he survives using his body structure.
Before we solve a problem, we should ask, has it been solved anywhere in the natural world? Life has ingenious ways of meeting its needs. In the Namib Desert, there's very little groundwater, but there is a fog that comes in a few times a week, and there's a tiny black beetle that climbs up to the top of a dune, stands on his head, lifts his wing scales up into that flow, and on these wing scales there are bumps. The tips of the bumps are like magnets for water. The sides of the bumps are waxy. So fog comes in, begins to aggregate on the tips, the water runs down the trough and into the critter's mouth. This is being mimicked now in fog catching nets that are 10 times better than the fog catching nets we currently have. In fact, there's a company that is putting this surface on the inside of water bottles to create a self-filling water bottle. Water is the new oil. It's what nations will be fighting over, unfortunately. Being able to pull water out of air, that's one of the more exciting biomimetic areas. For more episodes of Think Like a Tree, subscribe to the Wired channel.
Okay, so those were our the last three of the 5 ways that animals and plants, their structures allow them to adapt to get the food they need and to survive, to stay away from predators. So let's go back and just do a quick little review of that, what we just watched. Okay. So we covered hibernation. That's the adaptation that allows an animal to sleep and rest throughout the winter months when food is more scarce. So go back through and watch that video if you need to, but that is hibernation, sleeping and resting throughout the winter to save energy and because you can't really find food sources. Camouflage allows you to blend into an environment. We wear camouflage clothing sometimes because we want to look like the military. Military people wear camouflage clothing so they blend in with the trees and bushes and other things. And so animals blend into their environment with their coloring as well. Migration is when animals move. They relocate to different environments to get what they need. Predator avoidance, definitely the horned lizard with his blood squirting eye that has canine repellent in it. That guy is really wired up to avoid predators. So, and his skin even keeps him from being bitten by the ants that he eats. So he's pretty cool. And then number 5, obtaining food. Animals do what they need to do in order to obtain food, just like the Namib desert beetle. He did that. So that's the end of our lesson today. We're going to have a review, and then your test is next.